Well, hello students. This is in continuation with the last video which has been shared on the types of reports. So here we are going to discuss the various types of reports which can be written by a researcher. So the research report comprises of findings and recommendations. So it may greatly vary in the length and types depending upon the kind of research that you have done. So based on that, there may be various kind of reports. So first one is a short report. So this report is appropriate when the problem is well defined, it has a limited scope, and has a simple and straightforward methodology. So wherever the business firms are there which prefer reports in the letter form, like basically just 1 or 2 pages in length. So short reports are suitable for studies where the problem is well defined, there is a limited scope, and it requires only limited time, personal and money, for which methodologies used are to be simple forward. The second type are the long reports. The long report may be of two types. Firstly is the technical or the base report, and the second one is the popular report or the management reports. So there are many projects which require both types of reports. A technical report may be highly useful for the researchers, and a popular report, which is non-technical, that is very useful for managers or the clients. So a technical report is used whenever a full written report of the study is required, whether for record keeping or for public dissemination. And a popular report is used if the research results have policy implications, then only we use a long report or a popular report. The third type of reports are the technical reports. In these type of reports, the emphasis is more on full documentation and detail. Now, since these kind of reports are used by the researchers, so they want to see the complete history of the technical report, the manner in which it has been done, and what are the various methodologies and whatever kind of data has been used. So for that purpose, it is a very detailed report. And the general outline of these reports can be as follows. First is there should be a brief review of the main findings, the way it has been presented, just maybe in 2 or 3 pages. Description of general objectives of the study. What is the formulation of the problem? How the research problem has been formulated? What are the hypotheses that has been used? And what is the mode of analysis for the data? The various research methods which have been used in the study. And lastly, data collection, whether the nature of the data which has been collected is primary or secondary. Secondly, the analysis of the data, which is the main body of the report and their findings. They should be presented in the forms of tables and charts, and they should be properly explained also. A detailed summary of the findings and policy implications which have been drawn from the results, they should be explained so that the company, on what basis they are devising or designing their policies. The bibliography of the various sources used for the study, they should be given in an alphabetical manner. Appendices are given for all technical matters. So any kind of questionnaires which have been used, any mathematical derivations which were there for deriving the final results, any elaboration on the particular technique of analysis, they should be presented in the appendices, and we should label them as Appendix A, Appendix B, or Appendix C. Besides, we must also prepare an index, and it should be given invariably at the end of the report. Fourth type is the popular reports. Many a times it happens that the clients do not have any research background, and they're more interested in knowing the results rather than what methodology was used for deriving the results. So in such a situation, the communication medium is the management report. And these reports give more emphasis on simplicity and attractiveness. And we can get this kind of attractiveness through presenting the data in the form of charts, bar diagrams, or maybe pie charts. And this enables the clients to understand and derive results. Simplification is sought through clear writing. So normal simple words should be used, and the matter should be presented in with clarity. The minimization of mathematical details should be done. So there should be very limited use of mathematical calculations. Rather than there should be a liberal use of diagrams and charts through which the data should be presented so that the reader or the viewer can easily understand and comprehend the data. Now, there are a lot of precautions which a researcher should take while writing the research report, because it is a channel of communicating the research findings to the readers of the report. So while preparing, the following guidelines should be used. First thing is that the length of the report should be sufficient. It should neither be too long, neither too short. Crucial data must be omitted to make it look simple. It should not be dull and must impress the reader. It must be clear, and for clarity, the thoughts of the researcher must be clear. The language which has been used in the report, it should be simple and easy to understand, and not too much technical jargons or language should be used in the research report. Because if the language of the report is poor, in that case, the researcher or the audience or the reader would not be able to understand it in a proper manner. Next point is that the economy of words is very necessary for a concise report, but it should not mean that in order to make it brief or for the purpose of brevity, we are omitting the important information. So we should never commit such a mistake. The layout should be well thought out and everything should be structured in a proper manner and as per the objectives of the research problem. The research report, it should show originality and it should ensure that a genuine intellectual problem has been solved. And last point, before giving a final touch to the research report, it is better to carefully re-examine and re-edit it to make it more effective. A research report should not be mere collection of facts, but it should ascertain that there are some concerted results which have been drawn out of these research reports. So different steps may be used in writing report. And since report writing is the last stage of inquiry, it conveys to the interested person. Therefore, the whole result of the study in sufficient detail should be put forward. The usual steps in report writing are as follows. First is the logical analysis of the subject matter. So subject matter may be developed in two ways. That is number one, logically, and second is chronologically. So logical is more about the mental connections and association between two things. That means the one thing should be related to the other thing through a proper analysis. And chronological development means that it should be based on sequence, based on the time of occurrence, like which event occurred first. Accordingly, it should be narrated first in the report, and then the event which occurred afterward should be narrated second. The second step is to prepare a final outline. So outline is a kind of a framework which the researcher should develop, and based on that framework, logically he should arrange all the material. And a reminder, it is also acts as a reminder in order to lay which are the important points which have to be put emphasis in the report. Then the third point would be the preparation of the rough draft. So once your data has been compiled together, logical analysis has been done, it is necessary that a rough draft is prepared and later on it is again rewritten and a final polishing is done by giving it a final touch so that whatever the weaknesses are there in the rough draft, they are removed, and whatever is the final outcome, that should be a good and a quality outcome that should interest the reader or the audience. The fifth step is about the preparation of the final bibliographic content. So bibliography is a list of books, magazines, or research papers which have been used by the researcher in his own research work. So it should contain all those works which the researcher has consulted during his own inquiry or while conducting his own research. So bibliography should always be arranged in an alphabetical manner. It should contain all the references, all the research papers that the researcher has cited in the review of literature. The final point is writing the final draft. So the final draft of the report should be written in a concise and an objective style, using a very simple language, and it should not use any kind of vague expression, such as it seems or there may be, etc. It should be very clear and free of any doubts. It should not create or lead to any doubts within the mind of the audience or the reader. The mechanics of writing a research report. So while we are writing a research report, there are definite and set rules which should be followed while preparing the actual research report. So the techniques and all, when they are finally decided, they should be scrupulously adhered to and no deviation is permitted after that. So the criteria of format should be decided as soon as we have collected all the research material and it has been assembled in a proper manner. So for this purpose, there are following points which deserve to be mentioned as the mechanics of writing a report are concerned. So the first point is the size and physical design of the report. So if the manuscript is to be written on unruled paper, then 8 by 8.5 to 11 is the font size that should be used. If it's to be written by hand, then black or blue black ink should be used. Though nowadays nobody uses a written format, mostly the reports or the research reports are presented in soft copies or in a typed format. A margin of at least 1.5 inches should be left both at the left hand side and the right hand side, and on the top and bottom also 1 inch margin should be left. The paper should be neat and it should be legible. The manuscript is to be typed, then all typing should be double spaced on one side of the page, only except for the insertion of the long quotation. So second point is the procedure. So whenever we're writing the report, whatever the steps in writing a research report are there, they should be strictly adhered to. We cannot omit some of the steps and move on to the next step. That will not give a logical sequence to a particular report. So the step-by-step writing needs to be done. Third is the layout. So layout of the research and the various type of research, they have been described earlier also. And therefore, that kind of report layout has to be adhered to. It should be thought out and it should be accordingly adopted. Then is the treatment of quotations. So quotations, they should be placed in quotation marks amid the double spaced, forming an immediate part of the text. So wherever quotations you're picking up from, for example, you're picking up a quotation from any book, or if you're picking up a definition from any book, and you're going to mention it in your research report. In that case, it should be presented in double quotes and proper citation should be given to the author of that particular quotation. The fifth point is the footnotes, which should keep in view the following points. The footnotes, they generally serve two purposes. First is the identification of materials which have been used in the quotation, and the notice of materials which are not immediately necessary to the body of the research, but it may provide certain kind of supplement value. So these footnotes are meant for cross references, like I told you earlier also, citation of authorities and the sources. So whenever we are picking up a particular table or a chart, maybe from internet or from somebody's book, so we have to cite the source from where that particular table has been picked up from, or the quotation from which author it has been picked up from. So footnotes, these are placed at the bottom of the page on which the reference of the quotation, which they identify of supplement ends, that is mentioned there. So footnotes customarily separated from the textual material by a space of 1/2 inch and a line about 1.5 inches long. So these footnotes should be presented at the bottom of the page, and where the citation point wise 1, 2, 3, 4, we should mention all those citations there. Like I mentioned earlier, the footnote should be numbered in a consecutive order. So beginning with one each chapter separately, or maybe we might use asterisk marks for this purpose. So even asterisk marks, single asterisk, double asterisk or triple asterisk, they could be used and they could be mentioned at the bottom of the page.